Okay, so today I want to talk about the SVS Prime Elevation speakers that just came out from SVS. As their name indicates, these are speakers that are meant for height effects like Atmos and DTSX, as well as the up processing used for both formats when you don't have a native encode available. But despite being elevation speakers, they're actually able to be used in different ways, and that's something I'm going to talk about in a minute. I've got a box right here of the speakers, so I'm going to go ahead and dig into that. There's actually a nice manual and set of wall brackets and a whole bunch of stuff to talk about how to use the speakers. And yeah, included in that package, this is actually a box of 2 speakers, is the wall bracket. So I'm going to get into that too. And I've actually already taken the speaker out, so let me just grab it over here. Here is a Prime Elevation speaker. This is the black ash color, which makes this speaker about $200. And like I said, this is a box of 2. I got a box of another 2 over here. It's about 8 pounds. So using the included bracket is going to be important, assuming you're going to use it for either its elevation reason or for some other stuff that I should get to here. Let's see. Number one is, I've actually got it upside down for the best reason that you would want to have it, which is for that height effect. So in this mode, I can show you one of the cool things that you can do on this. Is actually flip the logo up. It's magnetic. This is how you're going to want it. Oop, let me fix that. This is how you're going to want it for Atmos and DTSX. And it's going to go high. Probably close to the ceiling if possible. You can see on the back, it has a single marking post. And that goes with the included hardware. Basically, this piece goes right here. And there's a bolt that holds it in, comes in the kit, and that gives you 2 hooks. Of course, this isn't open. So what you're going to end up asking your wall to do is to take 4 holes like that. And because of how this is oriented, that's going to lock it in place. SVS spent a lot of time coming up with this bracket, and of course now I've locked it into place. Here we go. So it's an important part of the purchase, because it's definitely going into that $200 price. And again, this is for the main purpose of this speaker, which is to add those height effects, and doing so without any kind of bounce. What you've got here is a tweeter and a driver, which SVS says works regardless of the orientation, without losing anything audibly, without causing any sort of off-axis issues. Obviously, the shape in terms of projecting down is important. It's pretty much a lot which has to do with it. But aside from those elevation aspects, what SVS has developed this for is also to use as a main speaker for different kind of placement problems that we run into in our home theaters and even when dealing with the projection screen. So for example, a problem that I typically run into is I've got my display, and really the only place I can put speakers comfortably is underneath it. That is exactly what this shape is supposed to do, oriented like this. You've got the display up here, you've got a left, center, and right, so 3 of these speakers can work, and they're underneath, but they're projecting up towards the listening position. Likewise, what I typically run into is, okay, there's no room underneath the display either. I'm going to have to put speakers above it. So again, you're flipping it over, but it's not going up towards the ceiling necessarily. It's just going right up above the display. And again, projecting down towards the listener in that main channel way. The big deal is that unlike a typical Atmos speaker, this speaker, the elevation speaker, can handle the full range of response that you would want in a main channel. Lastly, not to confuse things even more, if you orient it this way, it's actually appropriate to use for like a surround channel back in the corner. That would be your right, that would be your left. If you go through this documentation that comes with it, there's actually a way to set up two of these bad boys to be like dipole surrounds. I'm not sure exactly why you'd want to do it, but again, it just speaks to the versatility that they're kind of going for here. One thing I've got here to show by comparison is I've got one of their normal prime satellites. Right, so with the prime satellite and the prime elevation, aside from the difference in shape, a big difference is that the elevation has a deeper frequency response. They're roughly the same sensitivity, and they likely share a lot of the same components. It's conceivable that the user could get a prime satellite and buy a different mount and go ahead and orient it the way that they felt like worked best, much like the elevation. However, I'm attracted to the elevation design. I think with the included hardware, you wind up with the speaker mounted right up against the wall and easy to unhook and hook up and take down. And you've got the right orientation. And then at the same time, if you decide later that height effects don't make sense, or that, for example, these discs here, these are all Atmos discs. But on the DTSX side, this is kind of what I'm working with right now as we wait for a few more releases. But if you decide that these effects aren't worth the hassle for whatever reason, you're still going to have a speaker that's going to work great, hopefully, as a left, center, or right. I'm a huge fan of these satellites, so I'm expecting great performance from the elevation, but with the ability to work around that space around the display. At the same time, something that I would think would be attractive here with the elevation is if you've put up a big projection screen and you're having a hard time working your main channels in a way that not achieves the best sound, this gives you another option. So right now I've got 4 of them to work with, so I can do a left, center, right, or the thing that I want to do more is hook up this guy, Marantz SR611, and actually go with the 5.1.4 setup. With this receiver, if I throw in another amp, I can actually do 7.1.4, and I know that's something that a lot of people are looking to do, but it definitely can do that 4 Atmos channels out of the box. So having 4 of these speakers, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, that's going to be an ideal Atmos set from my point of view. At least that's what I'm hoping. And again, I won't have to worry about any bouncing, I don't have to worry about ceiling fans or anything else, and I certainly don't have to worry about an in-wall or in-ceiling install, which is a whole other set of challenges that I'm not really interested in dealing with right now. Is there anything else on this? As you can see between these 2 speakers, this prime satellite has the black glossy design, which I tend to favor, and I like for all the speakers to match that. It's a big upshot in price to go from this black ash wood grain design to the gloss. And in the case of the elevation speakers, I mean, if they're up near the ceiling, maybe black ash not matching the gloss isn't really that big a deal. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll have to get this new receiver in place and run some new cabling to go from the 2-channel Atmos setup to the 4-channel Atmos setup before I can get a better idea of how they sound. And of course, at the same time, wondering about their left, center, right positions. That's really that's a lot more interesting to me than, I guess, the surround possibilities I talked about earlier. That left, center, right application seems really promising. So I'll get into that and get back to you. Thanks so much.